So exactly why was quarantine imposed on France so suddenly? Well, on Thursday, France reported 2,669 new infections in just 24 hours. That's the highest daily increase in the country since its lockdown was lifted in May. By comparison, the UK has recorded around 1,000 infections a day during the last week. Across France, there are regional differences. Levels of infection are higher in the capital, Paris, and its surrounding areas, but also here on the south coast, which is one of the most popular destinations for tourists. Here's how the UK was affected by the pandemic. A sharp rise in cases leading to the peak in April, and then declining gradually. This is where we are now. The Office for National Statistics says infections are levelling off, although we know infections have risen slightly today. And this is how the situation in France compares to what is happening in the UK. You can see here that the two lines follow a broadly similar pattern. But look at where they are now, this sharp increase. And now let's look at the infections in Spain. It has one of the worst coronavirus infection rates in Western Europe. You can see here the infection rate spiking, and it was at the end of July that the government imposed a quarantine rule on holidaymakers returning to the UK. You can see a slight dip in the infection rate in the past few days, but further restrictions have been announced, including a ban on smoking in all public places and late-night drinking in bars. Malta and the Netherlands have also been added to the quarantine list, and infections there are spiking faster than France. The question is, will the UK follow the same trajectory as some of our European neighbours, like France?
Now they're seeing more regional, more nationwide increases. That's what we might get in this country. We may follow the same path. We've had smaller localized outbreaks, and we've had one regional outbreak where we've got restrictions in place from East Lancashire all the way through Greater Manchester and into parts of West Yorkshire. So there is precedence in this country for it happening here as well.
It must be remembered that these are new infections and not deaths. Localized flare-ups were expected with lockdown easing. We can say we are now in a different phase of the pandemic, and governments across Europe will be watching and reacting to the rising infection rates very closely.